We're live. It is 3:15 Central Standard Time. It is, I think, 8:15. Yeah, 6 hours in the UK. It is the Nomad Tech Project with Sam and Joe. And if you're not paying attention to the stream, you notice that Joe's not here right now. So he's a little delayed. So we're going to go ahead and get started 15 minutes late, because if we started at 3 o'clock, people thought it was weird. We're not going to do that. So here we are. So if you're watching the stream, we have a very special guest. Finally, I was able to coax Shane into a couple of minutes of his time on a Sunday, but Tennessee's playing late, so we don't have to worry about getting in front of an NFL game. But Shane, thanks for showing up and coming on the channel. We really appreciate it. It's been it's an honor to have you on, and we appreciate you spending time with us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Should be fun.
Sounds good. So let's get started. So Duo, right? So I guess my question is, how did you, before you bought your original Duo, and I'm assuming, if you follow the channel, if you folks that aren't following it, he's been pretty much since day one talking about it, and then it launched and everything else. How did that start? You an old Windows phone? For a lot of people like me, the Duo is the spiritual successor to the Windows phone and the Microsoft attempt to try and get back into the mobile space. So kind of how did all that start, and kind of just like unpack like your interest in the device and starting from before the launch?
Yeah, it's actually not what most people expect. Most people assume that like I'm like a OG Windows phone user. I'm not. Didn't use Windows Phone at all. Prior to Duo, I owned a Surface Pro 7. I think I bought one of those before. I think I had one of those beforehand, and I thought it was pretty good. I just really liked the design of it. Prior to that, I did not own any Surface or Microsoft products at all. It's the only one that I had. So literally, this is all it was. They debuted Duo, and I saw it, and I thought, oh my God, that thing looks incredible. That was that debut where Panos pulled it out of his, I think he had it in his jacket pocket and pulled it out. He was like, oh, one more thing, and pulled that thing out. That was it. I was just like, what on earth? I thought it was, it's funny because some people now are like, oh, those bezels are huge. I'm not bothered by the bezels. I think that the device in general, which my Duo 1 is actually right up here. I was updating my Windows 11 installation on it earlier, which there'll be a video on that hopefully in a couple of days. I was like, this is like one of the strangest and most beautiful devices I have ever seen. Like, it's just, look at that thing. That was really it. I just thought it was just a gorgeous, interesting thing. And I was, at that point, I really loved having dual monitors on my computer. I'm my mind is a very fragmented thing. I tend to jump from thing to thing. And it just made sense to me. I thought this thing looks really cool. And that was pretty much it. So I followed it. From then, of course, after the debut, it went dark for like a year.
Right.
And then my interest in it and my coverage of it began because right before it launched, I'm trying to remember all the timeline, but I think right before it launched in September, I had my YouTube channel, and I would post occasionally on it. It was very much a side hobby. Some of it was gaming content. Some of it was like stuff with me and my wife talking about stuff, just this and that. A couple of videos I had done well. Like I think I did like a Nintendo Switch video that did like 40,000 views, which at the time I was like, I'm famous.
Right. I've won the internet. Right.
It's over. Yeah. But at that point, I was beginning to really have it in my mind that I'd worked up to a position in the company I was in. That I had achieved a goal, and I was working a ton, and we had extra money. We don't have kids. You don't have any significant debt. Like money was like fine. We were good, but I was just miserable. Had no life. Just worked all the time. I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is so stupid. Like, what am I gonna do? Like when I die, like they're gonna be like, well, Shane had some hobbies. Mostly he worked though, but he did things he enjoyed. Like, what kind of life is that? So I was kind of like trying to find hobbies and things to keep me, occupied and happy. We got a Joe here.
Hey, Joe's there. Hey, mate.
Hey.
He's on location somewhere. Anywhere. Where are you at?
I'm in the pub.
He's in the pub. Oh, okay. There you go. So there you go. Joe's looking different because he's in the pub. Hey, are you a couple pints in there?
Sorry.
Oh, all right. Joe's in. All right. Good deal. So we're good. We got our buddy here. So Joe's looking good. So Shane was explaining his Duo. So I apologize. Shane, go ahead, sir.
No, you're fine. So yeah, I was kind of, posting on that channel kind of as a little bit of a, like a hobby, like I said. And I think I don't remember what the first video was, but I made a video just talking about Surface Duo, and it did, for my standards at the time, it did well, which might have been like 800 views or something at that point. I was like, wow, like that's pretty good.
Right.
So then I made another video talking about some other aspect, and it did maybe like 1,000 views, and I was like, okay, we're on to something here. So I like this thing. I think it looks really cool. I'm interested in it, and people are responding to me talking about it because I'm the only one. So I just kind of took off at that point and just started covering it more and more, and it, I kept trying to, I do a duo video, then I would talk about something else, and consistently, the other video would do nothing, but then the duo video would do more, and my subscribers started growing, and that's kind of how it got started. It was a mixture of, I thought it was interesting, and people on YouTube were responding to it, and I think, I wish I could remember the timeline of all this, but I made a decision sometime in that area with my wife's encouragement that I was going to, if you had asked me, 10 years ago, like, what would your dream job be? I'd be like, oh, if I could sit in my house and turn on a camera and talk about tech, and people would send me stuff to review and I could talk about it on YouTube, that's my dream job.
Yeah.
And she kind of encouraged me to, like, we've got some money in the bank, take some time, like, quit your job and go for it. And worst case scenario, it blows up in your face and you go get a real job again. And then, at least you'll know you went for it. So I quit my job and went for it, and I'm a couple years on, and I have not gotten a real job again. So we're doing good.
Yeah, exactly. So, and you notice, and you mentioned the Switch. So I guess my question is, would it have been more like, were you trying at some point were you a big gamer? Were you trying to leverage that first, and the Duo just kind of let me sidetrack that? Or was that the original goal? Or did you even have any kind of a plan about how you wanted to approach a channel if it were going to be?
Yeah, initially there was no real plan. But if you go back further, when I was younger, I was a bigger gamer. And at one point, like, I had a news website, which wasn't huge, but it was getting like, I think it was getting like 30 or 40,000 unique hits per month, which was pretty good. Like, I had like people that were freelance writing for me and stuff like that. So that was a few, many years back at this point. And then Jesse and I had our little podcast where we talked about games. But my interest in games was waning over time. I still play games, but I only play them socially. Like, I only play when my friends are on. And so I was still posting some gaming content primarily because it's what I had been doing, right? Like, even though my interest level had dropped, it's what I had been doing. So I had just kind of habitually continued doing it. But then when the Duo content started taking off, and then the other phone content, that other tech related stuff started taking off more, I was more than happy to transition right into that and leave the gaming stuff mostly behind. Now you may see me do a gaming review for a phone or something about Game Pass or something like that. But broadly speaking, I'm happy to not be doing gaming content because I really just don't care that much anymore. It really doesn't.
Right. Well, and especially considering you had that Switch video where it had so much views and traction.
Yeah.
That may be kind of an albatross, like, oh, well, now I can kind of leverage into this.
Right.
But I think you're kind of getting into a situation where with a Duo, you clearly have more of a niche and more of a kind of a lane, as opposed to gaming where you're like, okay, this space is, they're saturated, and then there's overwhelmingly, it's just ridiculous.
And I'm glad you said that, because it kind of early on, that videos like that were a distraction from what my goal needed to be, because it kind of made me think, well, like, maybe if I do talk about games, sometimes I can get something out of it. But that just wasn't true. Like, I just hit on something, it happens sometimes. Maybe it was the thumbnail, maybe it was the title, but I got lucky on one. And so early days was experimentation. If you go back to those videos, they're still all live. If you go back to those, you'll see where I'm kind of prodding into the ether, trying to, like, what should I post about? And then narrowing my scope until I found a niche. And then once I find the niche, hammering it hard, building out. And then after that, slowly trying to broaden out, because my strategy then became, this is my foothold. This is my foothold. And then over time, you can start talking about the Z Fold. And then you can start talking about, you can start broadening out after you get your foothold. Right. That was the strategy after I kind of worked that out in my head, what I should be doing.
Well, and it sounds like it's kind of worked, because now, I mean, I guess, it's funny because, I've watched your channel grow, and I've been a fan since really, I'm not, and to be perfectly fair, I don't exactly remember what the exact moment like find your channel. I think it was looking for duo content because I had this new device. I'm like, there's nothing out there except for people basically, it's basically pillaring the device. It's like garbage, it's trash, and it's it's like, well, yeah, because it's and I told people when I first had it, it's a transformative way to use a mobile computing device. It's totally different than anything you've used before. It's not just pick up phone, look at phone, push phone, right? It's literally open the phone. In order to do the things you need to do, you have to change the paradigm and your muscle memory and your approach to what does a mobile computing device with a phone capability look like, and how do I need to change my workflow, change my habits? Like when you pull up the Duo, every time you pull out, unless you have it folded, you have to physically open the device, look at it. It's a very deliberately engaging device. And it's for a lot of people, as we all know, people don't like to change a lot of their habits, especially they've been using cell phones for, 15 plus years. This totally changes the way it is. So interesting how your channel is like, when I stumbled upon, I was like, wow, finally somebody who kind of is like-minded and kind of sees it, and he's getting it out there. So when you first started and having, growth, and then all of a sudden it kind of starts to snowball, like, did you honestly think you'd even be at this point at this stage and then this quick? Okay.
No, not at all. I remember I'd set goals for myself, and I wish I still had them written down to compare, because it would be really funny at this point. But I think when I quit my job, I think I had 600 subscribers, which is madness. That's an insane thing to do.
Right. I was going to say they would at least get 1,000, right? Is that
right?
That's the
I wasn't even monetized yet. I mean, I couldn't make money yet. But again, I was in a unique position where I didn't. This. I hate the way this sounds, in particular now with the economic downturn that we're in. But I was in a position where my wife had a decent job, and I had a good job for a while, and had saved a lot of money, a decent amount of money, that I was like, well, if I don't make money for a year, we'll be okay. Right. That's just where I was. And, I'm not, I wasn't born rich. I didn't have any sort of dowry from family. I just got a job when I was 17, and I was 31 at the time, and I had gotten lucky on a cheap mortgage on a house and no kids. And that's all it is. Just some good fortune. But if life gives you good fortune, some luck like that. And, I'll credit my wife and I for working, 50 hours for, a really long time and saving money. But if you don't then take that opportunity and try to parlay it into something that makes you happy, who, if not me, who can go for this? If I don't, no one can, because who's in a better position to take a shot at it than I was? I have to do it.
Right.
And I think that my goal, I think I quit in May or June maybe. And I was like, if I could get to 1,000 by the end of the year, that would be a good first step.
Right.
And I think I was at 1,000 by maybe August. And I was like, that's cool. And then I think I was nearly at 2,000 by the end of the year, something like that. It was so much faster. And now, last few months, I'm getting almost 2,000 new subscribers a month the last few months. Yeah. It's been really, really strange. And, for anybody that's concerned, bye, Joe, for anybody that's concerned.
Wait, did you notice a little minute ago he fell? We hit the floor of the pub. So, that's okay. That's all. That's fine. Apparently he's feeling probably no pain there. Joe's a hardworking guy, and he's having a good time. So it's all good.
For anybody that's, concerned if I'm going to continue doing this, I'm at a point now where I've kept in contact with my old boss at Advance, and I was able to text him a few months ago, and I was able to say, Steve, I hate to break it to you, but I am now making what you were paying me to run the Super Hub, making YouTube videos. And needless to say, I will not be returning to Advance.
And here's the thing, I have to ask, because I know there's no chance of that happening with this show, which is fine. How did that, before you made the call, did you you're like, I think I'm going to make the most awesome call as an adult I think I've ever made in my life? Or how did it how did you feel pre-call and post-call when you hung up? You're like, I can actually say that with a straight face. That's not hyperbole. That's really what I can do. That's pretty awesome.
Are you talking about actually like that, letting him know where?
Yeah, tell him, hey man, like,
yeah,
I wasn't sure if I was going to make it, but now I can at least, I know I'm breaking at least even. So
yeah,
the cost benefit is now even. So
yeah,
toodles,
yeah.
dude.
It was a really cool thing to be able to do. And the good news is that even prior to reaching that point, like our talk about living within your means and so forth. Like when Jesse and I first got together, I think that I've calculated this. We first got together like 10 years ago. We were combining like her working part-time and me working full-time where I was before Advance. Like I think we were like combining for like $32,000 a year. And like we were getting by, like we were like, we were looking through old messages and me being like, well, we have $40 for the week for food and everything. And like, we were making it. Like, I don't know how, looking back, I'm like, I don't know how the hell we did that.
Yeah, it's just crazy, right?
So it's like, I was like we could fall so far and still be okay. Like we can make this. So, we've been it's been even before the last 3 months, like we've been fine, but it's good that, we're getting where we are, because honestly, like, my long-term goal is, if you ask me, where do you want to be in 5 more years? I'm like, well, in 5 more years, I want my wife to quit her job and then to do stuff with me. I want to bring her on board. And, I've gone from quitting with 0 income, not even monetized yet, to the last 3 months, I've made more than her. And so, and that's obviously no knock against her. She works very hard and does a great job at her work. But it's like, I try and stay laser focused on that it's like you talked about earlier, before we went live, this is me, this is all up to me. Right. There's good and bad with this, right? Like if you're sick and you don't feel like putting out a video that day, you're not going to make as much money that day. But on the other hand, if I went to work where I was before, I was salaried. I couldn't work more and make more money. I couldn't work, every year you got to, whatever you got. But like here, when I quit that, when I was working there part-time, literally just to get out of the house, which is probably a good thing to do. But I had a little bit of a weird transition when I quit, and I was just here all the time. It was a little touch and go over there for a minute. But I went from posting once a day to posting. I said, all right, I'm taking the guards off. I'm going to post. If I want to post twice, 3 times, I'm going to do it. No more than 3 though, because you don't get notifications on the 4th.
Oh, okay.
I started posting.
That's interesting. I didn't know that was a thing, but how would I know? Because we don't ever post once a week. So how would I know that possibility? I didn't know that was a thing. Huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Is that everybody, or is that just
evidently? That's my understanding. Okay. YouTube will only ping you 3 times for each channel in a day, which is I think makes sense. Yeah. But I took the guards off and I just said I'm going to post as much as I feel like posting, and my viewership went through the roof. It was already growing, right? It was already growing rapidly, but it went from like this to like this. My income went up, my views went up, and it was like, oh, if I post more, I make more. Duh. Like I can
it's like anything else. Like the more effort I put in, the more I can deliver.
But that's not true of most jobs.
Right. It's
just not.
Some places it's actually the opposite. Like the more hours I put in, I'm actually making on my salary, the less. Yeah,
when I was working salary,
it's a little
every
bit
hour over 50. Yeah, was less per hour. It's stupid for me to work over 50. Here, it's my return on my investment is correlated to my effort.
Right.
So in that regard, it's a really good thing. And that, like I said, that is my laser focus of like, where do I want to be in 5 years? Well, I want Jessie to be in that other room. And if she wants to stream, Stardew Valley on Twitch, and hopefully some of the people that know me know her, maybe she can show up. Maybe we'll start doing our old podcast again or whatever. So she's seen, and she can just do this too. And then, like I have this, grand dream in my mind of like, I want to, if I can make this work, I want to include other people in it. Like because, Jesse and I both worked a ton of retail, and that stuff sucks.
That's tough. I did too when I was in my 20s, and it's a lot of long hours, not a lot of pay, and a lot of stress. I mean,
I want to be able to pull her out of it as well. And at least, maybe, she probably honestly not want to quit. She probably just want to be part-time somewhere, which is smart. But yeah, that's, if you ask me when I quit, in, was it 2020? I believe it was. It was right. Yeah, it was. Because the pandemic had just started hitting. And if you had told me then, yeah, at November 6, 2022, you'll be at just under 17,000 subs, and this is what you'll be making, I would have been like, sign me up. Like, what do I need to do? Like, I'm on it. Let's go.
Is there is a sign up list? Do I have to draw straws? What do I got to do? That sounds like an awesome I deal. Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't want people to think I'm, clearly, if anybody looks at that and thinks this guy's making six figures, no, I'm not making six figures, but like for the situation we're in Knoxville. I don't know if you know much about Knoxville. This is one of the cheapest cities in the world to live in.
Tennessee just generally is. I mean, I live in Missouri, so I live just south of St. Louis, so I'm a Midwestern thing. And Tennessee, I've driven there a couple of times just to go on trips and stuff like that. And I like Tennessee. I really think it's kind of a laid back area. Knoxville, and I don't know, is Knoxville the city that has the like citywide Wi-Fi? I'm not sure if that's Knoxville.
No, I don't believe it.
I thought it was one of the cities in Tennessee that they had deployed where you could actually sign up through the city. You can actually sign up and get broadband. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, they're about to roll out some broadband through. They're talking about rolling out fiber through our utility boards here in this area, which would be killer. But and I just good fortune. I bought my house in 2011. No, yes, 2010, 2011. Don't remember, anyways. But it was like it was right when that plus the circumstances about happened. The house was super cheap. It's like, just good fortune and good area. And so I don't need to make a ton of money. So like we're good. Like I'm happy and we're trending in the right direction. But no, to go back to the original question, I would have been very pleasantly surprised to have found out that this is where I was, because my goals were quite meager. I had no grand aspirations. I knew what was realistic.
Absolutely. And what the funny thing is, so we had talked about, prior to the show too, about, how are you handling like having that kind of engagement, right? You're having, I guess, it's funny we were talking about like these people, because you're presenting a product and you're talking about, your personal life on top of your videos. People are kind of aware on Twitter that, things are going on, that life just happens. So people they know you. Like I know Shane, like I watch him every day, like sometimes twice a day. Like I know what's going on, and I know where he lives. I can see his room, and I've seen his yard because he's taking pictures of it. Like he's like, I know him, right? And then but all the people who are engaging, myself included, until today, and until you actually saw us face to faces, you don't know these people. So it's kind of it's an offset, and it's almost feels like it. How are you handling that? Are you noticing? Are is it good and bad? Some days you're okay with coping with it. It's just like, how is that generally like as you are starting to kind of be famous inside of your circle? And people we're like, I can't believe I'm talking to Shane. It's incredible, right? How are you reacting to that? And how has that changed like how your approach to your channel and your just general overall approach to things is?
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly good. It's mostly flattering. But there are definitely times, and I don't want this to sound like I'm like, oh, woe is me, I'm a celebrity. Like, I don't think of myself that way at all. But I will say this: most people aren't known by as many people as I am. Right. Now, there are obviously many, many people that are known by far more people than I am.
Right. Exactly.
So it's like 1% of the way, you know what I mean, to being a celebrity. But I mean, I try and read all my comments, and sometimes. That might be, it's dozens and dozens every day that I'm trying to read through. And, a lot of them are really nice. Some of them are really mean, which I've had to go through and filter. I've got filter words on YouTube. If you try and comment and your comment does not appear, you probably are being an asshole. And that's why it didn't show up, because you probably said something mean.
You said one of the words that we have on the filter, so we just basically never saw it, because you have to really evaluate your life. And it's like, I just never understood that. It's like, the level of it, like, it's like, I mean, I'm a Chicago Bears fan. I know you got the Tennessee Titans, so Tennessee is a pretty decent team. The Bears have not had exactly the big success, and people give me travel all the time. Oh, Bears suck. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm not getting a check from Hallis Hall. Like, they're not sending me money. Like, I don't work for the Bears. Like, I don't really care. Yeah, I'm not going to sit there and argue with somebody if they say the Bears suck, and like, I'm like. Yeah, they do. I'm clearly honest.
Kind of. Like, what do you want to talk about?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, but let's talk about how they cannot suck, right? But I just don't have the level of emotional engagement, even though I'm a fan of the team. Like, I don't understand how it's like you could watch your video or see one of your tweets and just people just like lose their shit and just like screaming at their damn monitors, like, I gotta definitely let Shane know that he's a complete moron, and here's how it is.
I've had some real like,
oh my, I don't understand it. Like, it
I would say,
really,
you know,
yeah.
the vast majority of my community has been like unbelievable. Like for those that don't know, like we've had some stuff going on in the family that has been difficult, and like the outpouring of support was like, you know, maybe this is a good way to talk about it. Like it's really, really good. Like it's incredible the kind words that most people shared. But it is a little overwhelming because, like you said, like they know me, but I don't know them. It's a stranger being really kind to me, but they don't think of me necessarily as a stranger in that regard. There is a weird dynamic to it, but it is very kind. Looks like we got a comment there. I get waves of bots, and I have lots of filters for words that catch most of them, and I go through and delete them afterwards. But yes, mostly trying to direct people towards adult websites are a big one. I have had a couple of people impersonating me, trying to get people to go to click a Telegram link and things like that, which again, you know, you just put filters in there and get rid of it. But that does happen occasionally. But yeah, it is a little bit odd. And sometimes there are definitely days when I'm like, a lot of Twitter notifications, a lot of people tweeting stuff at me and asking me questions, and then a lot of people on YouTube commenting. And there's days and I'm like, I physically do not have the mental fortitude to read these comments. Like and it's not even that they're necessarily this is a good thing about it. It's not even that they're mean. They're almost all nice, but it's like trying to think of a good analogy. Like when I go into my comments and I'm going to start scrolling through them, at any moment, one of them could be adversarial. One of them could be making fun of my appearance, or calling me an idiot, or saying some horrible thing about me. And you don't know if and when that's going to happen. So it's like a jack in the box, dude.
Right.
And you're just
wait for it to pop, and then it never pops, and then you get all that worry for nothing. But then you thought, okay, this is like good interaction, and then it goes off the rails. And you're like, oh God.
Because I'm a very much no filter kind of person. One of the things that my wife said about me right after we met was we went on a date, and then she hung out with me and some friends. And afterwards she said, it's really weird that she said, most people have different, like almost like different personas they are with different friends and different groups. And she was like, you seem to be the same person with everybody. And I'm like, I don't understand the opposite like that. I am only one person, and I don't filter things. I just say what I think, and I try to be very honest and try to be very earnest with what I say and how I present myself. And you know, because of that, it can cause people to almost feel like they have a connection with you. Like I would always be that person that like people would come to me for advice, and they would like start telling me like very personal things. And I'd be like, my God, why are you telling me this? Like, but then I would realize, well, it's because I've told them personal things because I have no filter. I just say things to people, and they think he's confiding in me. Therefore I will confide in him.
Right.
But it's not, really
I'm just kind of a maniac, and I just kind of say stuff. And then it's just kind of like, I'm just, and the funny thing is I'm kind of like that way at work. And unfortunately I have to be a little bit metered. You know, they talk about bringing your authentic self to work. I went, I don't think that's a great idea, because I'm
can't do it in retail. If you're in retail in particular, and not retail, but in particular, the retail mask has to come on, and then it's like, how can I help you today?
Majora's Mask, and it's painted, and like behind this mask, I hate your very existence, right? Yeah. But it's interesting how my wife's the same way. She's like, you know, when you're out in public, she's just like, Jesus. Like I'll say something, she's like, oh God, Sam, what are you doing, man? You gotta like kind of like. And then we've known each other since grade school. So, we went to the same grade school. So she goes, if you think he's like this now, you should have met him when he was like 10, 11.
Right.
He's kind of a crazy person, right?
Right.
Even more than normal. So that's kind of interesting how to like navigate that. And I guess my thing is going to be is, you know, as your channel grows, which it will, I'm just at this point, it's starting just the sheer level of content and your capability, and the fact that I think people can resonate to that when they listen to your channel. That's what part of like where I think is I've watched him. I'm like, I know I don't know him, But if I saw him at a establishment, like around a bar or at a park, and I saw him using a Duo, I would actually walk up and say, "Hey, man!" First of all, he's using a Duo, which is pretty cool. Second thing is, he seems to be very straightforward about like, this is the way I am. Like, if you were to talk to me on his channel, or if you would talk to me in person, or if we were out at a bar, I would be the same guy. Like, I'm not. Right. I don't have personas. I don't have different ways of filter that. As that grows, do you see that you may have to adjust how that goes? Do you want to have to kind of conform to that? Like, I'm curious how you, if you thought about that far, like if I get 500,000 subscribers, let's say, like that engagement is going to be overwhelming to the point where you could spend 24 hours a day and you're never going to touch anybody. Like, well, I've been talking to Shane for 6 months and he's never said anything to me. Well, fuck him. I'm out of here. Right. It's like, how have you thought about it that far, about how you might strategize or approach that? At
a certain point, one of two things. If current trajectory continues where I'm gaining, a couple thousand subs a month, but 4 months ago, it was like 5 months ago was like plus 400, 4 months ago was plus 600, then it was 8, then it was 1,000, then it was 1,800, whatever. If we continue that trajectory and we get to a point like that, one of two things, we'll reach a tipping point. One of two things will happen. One, I will just largely stop looking at any of it. I'll just have to. There will be no way, because like I said, it's cranking the jack in the box, and it does this. I'm sure there are people that hear me say this and go, "What a baby!" Well, I'm a baby that has generalized anxiety disorder, so like it's nerve wracking because people are like, it's just somebody on the internet. Who cares what they say? Well, okay, but like, how about this? How about you do this for 2 years and get oodles and oodles of really angry, mean comments, and you tell me how you feel after reading them for a while.
And they're personal. Like, that's not just, hey, I think your take on this is stupid. It's like, no, you have long hair and you probably smell like sadness, and I hate your fucking face, and I'm gonna come kick your ass. If I'm over the Knoxville area and I see you in public, I'm gonna shove you in front of the first Bi-State bus I see. Right? It's that level of
it will
and vitriol. My God, it's like, it's just a phone. I just have an opinion, and I'm just a dude. Like, I'm just a guy.
Yeah, I'm just a guy. Like, I'm not even polished. I'm just talking. Like, people like,
right.
I had one guy go, "How do you come up with all these scripts for your videos?" I'm like, "Scripts? What are you talking about?" Like, I hit record and I talk,
and the words come out. And like, have you seen this podcast? It's clearly done by amateurs. I just let it rip. Like, I don't care. And if we get like 10 people that watch, whatever, man. Like, I don't even care anymore. It's fine. But I was going to ask you too. Do you ever, maybe not script, but do you have like maybe like bullet points? Like, I want to hit these things, or how do you struggle?
If I'm doing like a phone review, something that there are points I have to make.
Right.
Yeah. I'll have OneNote open up on the other screen, and I can kind of reference that as I'm going.
Right.
Broadly, no. I'm just talking. And sometimes when I have a really weird workflow where I will literally have I film everything through OBS. If anyone watching this, and I have a proper camera run through an Elgato HD60, and I film in OBS. That's how I do on my desktop, so I can show you the phone screen.
Yeah, the down top. Yeah, from the top down.
I do it all through that. And what I'll do is I'll film for a bit, and then I'll grab that bit and I'll throw it into my video editor, and I'll edit it right then. And it'll help me. It'll help me refresh my memory of like, oh, I needed to say this, and then I'll minimize the video editor. I'll hit record. I'll say a little bit more, and then I literally edit it as I go.
That's interesting. So I guess my question is, have you got to a bit and you're like, yeah, that bit's trash?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, the video that's showing out, like, okay, that's total horse crap. Yep. I can't use that. It's awful.
For sure. The video that's getting posted tomorrow, I'm going over the bug situation with 12L on Duo. I deleted like 10 minutes of stuff that I was like, this sucks. This is not working. Deleted it and reworked the entire video because it just wasn't, but I wouldn't have, I knew that because I was editing it as I was going, and I was able to just make that switch right there.
Now, my question real quick, do you just do it on your own? Or does Jesse maybe like, hey, babe, watch this and tell me if I sound like a complete idiot here? And you're like,
tell me.
Okay, I just didn't know, because like with me, I hate the way I sound, and I don't like any of my presentation at all. So a lot of times I'll leverage my wife. I'll say, hey, can you listen to this? She goes, oh, Jesus, you need to don't stop doing it.
Yeah.
So I just didn't know if maybe an outside person would maybe look at that and kind of go, or is it just
there are times that I've had her look at thumbnails because I'm not very
Okay.
visually artistic.
Gotcha.
There's times I'll send her or I'll put it in my little personal Discord server and ask her and some friends, like, look at these 2 thumbnails. Which one would you click on? But the video stuff, I don't want to pester her with because I'm posting so many videos. I don't want to
right. I mean, especially you said that, and you may you might record an extra one, just have it like in a bullpen, right? You can just kind of leverage.
Oh yeah, I try to get stuff recorded ahead. Right now I've only got 1 video ahead, so I got to get back to work. But this whole last few days, I've had no creativity at all and just haven't been able to do much. So it's
and we were talking about too is like kind of talk about like your like how your ideas like manifest. Like I know a comic, like comics will like write down material they used to, how does that work? Like say you were talking about like if I'm out, I got it like hyper productive. I got to get in here because if I walk away, it's out my head. So how kind of talk about that workflow? Like how do you idea wise?
Yeah. So I utilize two main tools. One is Microsoft to-do list. And I just, if I think of anything, even if I think of it in the moment, I think that's probably not a good video, I still write it down because in 12 hours, I might think it's a great video and I may have tons of energy to make that video. So I write it down anyways. And I look at that every couple of days and I go, oh yeah, I was going to do that. And that sounds great now. The other thing I use is Feedly, which I have like probably 20 different news websites and a couple of different subreddits in there.
Okay.
So I check my Feedly list and I just keep it cleared and I open it up and here's 50 news stories and I scroll through them and I go, oh, what is that? And I click on it and then maybe that spurns my interest. And then sometimes I'll take a news story and I'll make a Twitter thread. I'll tweet, 8 things with pictures and information. And I'm literally just organizing my thoughts. And I think I'll present it to people because it's news it's like a condensed news article for other people.
Right.
But then for me, because I don't have a script, I now have a Twitter thread that I can reference and it helps me kind of almost like solidify my thoughts on a topic too. And so
kind of chew through the topics kind of systematically. Yeah.
Kind of organize it a bit and kind of, that way I can, when I make a video, I'll sometimes literally just show my Twitter thread with some of the pictures. I've saved pictures in there too and links to things. So I'll do that sometimes, but it's mainly just being an avid reader of tech news. Stuff comes up and I have thoughts on that. So I will share them. I didn't answer fully your last question about what would I do if I ever got to the point that I couldn't get through all the comments. I would either stop reading them or hopefully by then Jesse's able to work part-time and I'll make her read them.
Well, I was going to say, because if you can get to a point where, maybe and then she can go, God, honey, I can't read these because I'm going to go fight these people. Like I really want to fight these people.
That's the thing is I won't go fight them. I'll just shut it all down. If it gets to that point, like I'm not an angry person. Like I go the other. I made the analogy to a friend the other day that, you got a compass and a compass wants to point towards magnetic north. And if you turn it, it'll stay there. If you turn it really quickly, it'll go and then it'll course correct back to magnetic north. My internal compass points towards anxiety and depression. And I have to continually be nudging it back the other way. So it's more that I'm just like, just shut it down, just turn it off. I gotta go away for a while. But she said, she's like, you want me to read I'll go through. I'm like, you're working a full-time job. No, I don't want you to do any of this. I want you to relax.
But also because you don't want to get her in a situation. Like I know if my wife would read some of the comments,
she would get mad.
Fuck that guy. Like, who the fuck is this guy? Like she would lose her mind, right? And the funny thing is she is not confrontational. She's actually very one of those people like when presented with confrontation, she becomes very quiet, very introverted. But she's hyper defensive of me. Like she doesn't need to be, but she's just like, well, what is that guy? What does he know? I bet she doesn't know shit, right? So yeah. But Michael's got a question, and it's more about music. So I know she have a lot of guitars, and I know that obviously anybody who's got guitars on their wall probably knows how to play a guitar. I would probably venture to say, even if it's not great, who cares? It's like playing trumpet. If nobody can hear it, if you make it sound in the woods and it's terrible, nobody can hear it. So do you have like pedals? I see some acoustic guitars, how does
believe it or not, if you can probably see there on the wall, my favorite guitar, I believe, is actually in the living room. It's in the other room now, but it's a little Martin Mini. I've only got one electric there on the wall, and I've got a Music Man amp that I believe is from like the mid 70s. I only have one pedal. It is an overdrive / distortion pedal. Okay. And I very, very rarely play my electric guitar. I play my acoustic, I play my acoustic much, much more. My little mini Martin, I play it all the time. And it's I can pick it up and take it with me.
Right.
And that's a big, like, it's the same reason why I was a bigger fan of like handheld gaming systems than consoles, because
Right.
I'm here and I'm there and I'm everywhere, and I like my mini because it's smaller, and many things are smaller, but I can take it around with me. And my favorite thing about acoustic guitars, not to get too guitar nerdy, but maybe
Sure.
Michael will enjoy this to some degree. With an electric guitar, if you want to change the way it sounds, you're turning knobs, you're hitting pedals, and you're doing it digitally.
Mhm.
With an acoustic guitar, I feel like I can accomplish many, many different tones and sounds just by the way I'm playing it. It's in a more percussive sense. I can palm mute, I can finger pick.
I was going to say alternate picking, that kind of thing. Right.
I can just the manner at which I strum. You can change the volume, the tone of an acoustic guitar, and I know you can with an electric as well. But I feel like with an electric, I'm gonna make some electric guitar like fan be like, you're an idiot. But this is just how I feel. And maybe because I'm not that proficient on the electric guitar. For me, on the acoustic, I can like bang on that thing and I can still make it sound good. The electric is much more delicate. If you really are just hammering that thing, it's probably not going to sound very good. You kind of want to play it more deliberately.
Right.
And you really have to play it a certain way. You know, you don't see a lot of people, you can palm mute a bit, like if you're playing, some downstrokes or something, but like you're mostly changing your tone and your sound with pedals. And I don't want to be bothered with that. I can do it all with my hands and I can get my sounds that way. So I am almost,
and it feels more authentic. I guess it doesn't feel like you have to use, I don't say trickery, but you have to use opposite other than your physical means to make different sounds happen.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. Like, some of my favorite music is, like hard rock music. Like I love the sound of a crunchy electric guitar. Like I love it. But for whatever reason, when I pick up my guitar to play something, I'm picking up my acoustic. I don't know what that is. And honestly, I almost never listen to music that is all acoustic. It's very strange.
Yeah.
It really doesn't make any sense now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I've been down the rabbit hole now with the Tosin Abasi and the Tim Hensons and Polyphias. Like I could watch them play guitar literally for hours. I mean, I'm thinking how insane is it to get to that level? I mean, I realized you could, there are people, it's like hitting a baseball. Yeah, everybody can hit one, but not everybody can be Albert Pujols. I don't care how many hours you're in the cage. Eventually, at some point, you're going to have to lose to some talent, right? And it's just like, I'm not a guitar player. I was a trumpet player in school, and I wish I would have kept up with it, but I didn't. So,
well, that's why I tend to say like I'm a decent guitar player, because I know it's like, what is it? The Dunning-Kruger effect. Is that what it's called? The one where it's like, no, that's not right. Or is that right? It's the one where
it sounds good.
It's the one. It's the thing where there's a curve, and basically like people that so you got your competency of a task and your confidence on the other axis, and people that know that are not competent at a task tend to be low confidence. But there's a point in the middle where people are, their confidence is way higher than your competency, but then I'm losing track of my thought. But basically, I'm good enough and know enough to know how much better other people are.
Right.
So
and that is the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's a cognitive bias where people with low ability, expertise regarding a certain type of task or area of knowledge
have too high confidence.
Their ability. I looked at it.
I literally said it backwards. Low competency, high confidence.
Right.
So, one of my favorite things to do, I'll sit in here and I'll turn on YouTube music and I'll shuffle my super mix and I'll grab my guitar and I will attempt to quickly learn and play along with songs that I don't know. And I can do that well enough. I have a good enough ear that I can fake my way through most things. Am I one of these people that are just like meedly, all that shit? No, I'm not. I am a sufficient rhythm guitar player.
Right.
And no further than that.
Yeah, and Mike used to have his guitar. He's got a little cheap, a little Epiphone. And then Aditya, fan of the show, has the ukulele. Because why wouldn't he? Of course he would. Yeah.
There's a ukulele. I don't think you can see it. It's just if you see the case standing up.
The cage. Yeah.
You see the ukulele?
Right there, right next to it, right between right above the pillow in the cage. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. So the uke is a really fun instrument, actually. It's It's a really fun one. I mean, you've only got 4 strings. You're typically playing on nylon strings, so it takes really a tiny amount of effort to push the strings down. So like you don't have to worry about building up the calluses in the same way as a guitar. So it's a fun, and it is much more dynamic than people realize. People think of ukulele and they hear Somewhere Over the Rainbow, but like it can sound like an acoustic guitar. You can get so many different, you can alter the sound with the way you're playing. It's a fun instrument.
Absolutely. So kind of a little bit of a context switch. So, I noticed that you've gotten some traction where other duo users, I seem like you got Steve Litchfield and you got Daniel Rubino. So like, did they reach out to you? Like, I'm just curious because I make comments on that all the time. And to me, Daniel Rubino is somebody I followed as well, who's got a wider kind of a group. So how does that work? Were you trying to I'm just talking about duo and he just kind of reached out and we just kind of had like-minded, we're both talking about the same device. So we, obviously you have a YouTube channel so we can clearly watch it. Whereas I'm just a user of a duo and a fan of the device. I'm just curious, is it kind of like the same thing? It's like, well, there's Daniel Rubino, who's somebody who's obviously industry expert, somebody who has connections to Microsoft, and him responding directly to your tweets is kind of, I think it would be kind of cool. I don't know.
It definitely was. And yeah, I didn't pursue. I always felt weird about tweeting at people.
Right. It just seems.
Weird. There's something weird about it. I mean, not, you do what you want to do, obviously it's social media, there's no, but just for me, like people that, some Scarlett Johansson tweets and everyone's replying like, what are you doing? She's not reading these. Like you're
right.
Like you're wasting your time. And I'm sure, Daniel Rubino and people like that are going to read more of their comments, but I definitely didn't pursue any sort of conversations with them. It happened organically that we were in the same space covering the same thing. And if I'm not mistaken, I may be wrong, but I think that Daniel might have shared one of my videos and tagged me and hey, you guys should go watch this video. And I was I remember being like, holy crap. Daniel Rubino, 1, knows who I am.
Right.
2, just told people to watch my video. I'm like, this is nuts.
Right. It's bonkers, right? Yeah, exactly.
It was very strange. And Daniel has been, we've spoken a couple times and he's been nothing short of very, very nice to me. Seems like a good guy. I've had a few conversations with Zach as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, they both seem really up. I mean, they seem to be genuinely on the up and up and very, very nice to talk to, very engaging and very respectful. They seem like to be pretty on the up and up.
Yeah. And Steve as well has been extremely nice as well. And if I'm not mistaken, I think all 3 of them was just very organic. Just like I said, Steve had a duo and liked it. And I guess had seen my content and became aware of me that way and reached out. And that is stuff that I really, really like. And it's stuff that I need to spend more time on. And I get so caught up reading with so many comments and things on Twitter that I used to do more of this. And I need to do more of it is seeing other creators that I like and trying to signal boost them. That is one of the coolest things. I've spoken with Mr. Mobile, Michael Fisher, a few times. I've been watching his stuff for forever. So that was super crazy as well that he is at least tangentially aware of me. But that is the coolest thing you can do when you have a big platform rather than what we like to do on the internet, on Twitter, which is to punch down at those smaller than us.
Right. Exactly.
You see people that have that kind of platform trying to lift someone else up. It's that's what it's got to be about. And I need to get back to doing more of that than I have been. And my brain has been so utterly fried that I've just been managing to tread water on here.
Right. So, I mean, especially with, and a detail up here had made a comment asking about, the other situation with, I realized Cooper, early in the year and how to work through it. And then also, another dog that got sick who seems to be on the mend. We were talking about a little bar, so, when you have all those things going on, I mean, how, especially when you have a situation where you can kind of fall into those, I guess, mental illness kind of
for
holes,
sure.
right? How I mean, I can't imagine. I luckily I've never really struggled with a lot of those kinds of things. So when I listen to people who struggle with it, I try to be empathetic and try to understand where they're coming from. So I know it's always hard. Life happens, but how's that situation going as far as dog going, everything going okay?
We're trending in the right direction. People that are watching this that are aware of me, that have been, have watched my channel and seen my community posts and things on Twitter and so forth. We lost our dog Copper back in late August, and she was 12. She'd been with I literally, I was there when that dog was born. Like, I saw her be born. Like, I had her. People like, how long have you had her? I'm like, the whole time, right. All of it. She was my best friend. And, kind of looping back into this, people that know me will probably know this as well. It's on my Twitter profile and everything, but I was diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum back in, I guess it was like maybe 3 years ago now. And without realizing it, Copper was a crutch for me. Like, I have a lot of issues and difficulties, like deep, like allowing myself, like I can make friends really easily, but like really deeply bonding with people is something that I have like tremendous struggle doing. Like, I'm alone a lot of the time. It's pretty much just my wife at this point. I have a few friends, but like, I have a hard time letting people in. I have a lot of anxiety about that kind of stuff. And I just, I struggle with it. Copper was my crutch. She was in all the way. In retro stuff, you don't realize when you're doing it. When she's gone, I was a lot of soul searching, like, because I didn't understand, like, I knew it would be bad, but like, I had no idea that I could ever, I've lost a parent, and this sounds horrible, but I grieved harder for my dog than I did for my father.
Right.
But Copper was with me all the time. You can go back and watch my videos. She was here all the time, or she was there.
Right in shot. Yeah.
Always. She followed me through the house. She was my best friend. And I used her as a crutch in that regard, that the feelings and the emotions that I had nervousness expressing to other humans in my life. Like, I'm one of these people, like, when I hug my mom, I feel anxiety. Like, I have sensory issues, and it's just hard. I didn't have any of that with Copper. So she became the reservoir of my, these anxious feelings. And so she became so inflatedly important to me that when she was gone, I'm nowhere near like I still have daily moments where I still cry about it. Like, it's hurt unbelievably badly. Like, I didn't know I had this capacity. Like, I've lost a parent. I've been through a divorce.
Right.
I did not know that I had the capacity to hurt the way that I've hurt over this. Like, it's been horrifying. And of course, the love from the community has been heartening. It's been much appreciated. But then a couple months after that, my 10-year-old boy Rutherford, we determined he has a mass on his spleen, and there was thoughts like, man, like, it could be cancer, like we might be about to lose him too. And I was, we were just like, what on earth is happening right now? But
it's like a 1-2 punch. It's like, holy cow.
And it was, going to be a 1-2 knockout if it went that way. And it was, I don't know what we were going to do, but he is doing well.
Good deal.
The mass was benign. He's recovering well. His staples are out of his belly. He's had several really good days in a row. He's getting, his energy level is coming back. His appetite's coming back. He's playing with our pup. So he is doing much better. He's got another appointment on Friday to check out some things that we may need to address, but nothing significant. Hopefully he'll be with us for at least several more years and can live a happy life. He's a happy dog again. He's feeling good. I think once he's fully recovered, he's going to feel better now than he probably did for the last year, because
especially as that was growing, and you probably, and that's the problem with having a dog. You can kind of see like their physical kind of reaction. You can see their energy, but they can't say, dude, like, I'm wrecked today. Like, I'm not feeling good, man. Like, I'm not feeling it today. Like, they can't express anxiety verbally, right? They can't.
That is the biggest thing that I've learned from this situation, is that with Copper and Rutherford, there were both little tiny things that in retrospect you go, that might have been something.
Right. They were almost trying to clue you in. These little hints that
Rutherford's belly filled out. He looked like he was gaining weight. He's 10. We just thought he was gaining a little bit of weight. He didn't act sick, nothing. But this has been the lesson that I've learned. When your older dog, anything changes with some rapidness, whether it's the weight, anything changes, take them to the vet.
Yeah,
like
or their attitude or their energy level or their engagement. Like if you see, because dogs are very regimented, like humans, right? They get into a routine. If you see anything that varies, that variance starts to become noticeable. Like you're like, huh? Did you notice that the other day that Rutherford did this?
Yeah.
I mean,
go get it looked at.
Might as well. I mean, you got a local vet, probably somebody you trust and can take care of you. Just get out there and check it out. And they'll tell you, oh yeah, it's nothing, or
all that stuff.
It's they're getting older.
For him, it was like stuff that was so easy to chalk up to getting older. It all. I mean, and if I had asked anybody, it was he's just getting older. Like you wouldn't. But again, with him, it took him. He had a bleed and he became rapidly anemic, and that's why he quickly started showing symptoms and had to rush him to the ER.
Right.
And it could have gone bad, and we would have been like, man, like how did we, we didn't even know. So we dodged a bullet there. So yeah, going forward, that is the lesson that has been pounded into my head, that you better believe, whether it's him or it's Rose or Australian Shepherd puppy that we have now, something changes. You're going to see the vet. We're getting it checked out.
Get it checked out. It's funny how if something changes with you, you're like, it hurts. I'll plow through.
Right. Like, little things like the backyard, there's some stairs, and him and Copper both would go up to the very top. It's like 20 feet in the air, and they would we called it Paw Patrol because they would survey the neighborhood, and bark at whoever was going down the alley. Well, he wasn't going up there as much, but we thought, well, Copper's not here. And she would go up first. So there's nothing, he was just following her. Made sense. Well, now that he's recovering, guess what? He's going back up there more. You can't, even if you think you've got a rational reason for why something's happening, still go get it looked at, because you could be wrong and you could be costing your dog something you're not going to be able to get back, which is the rest of their life. They could need you to be taking them to the vet to help them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's for those of you who have any kind of issues like that, or take Shane's advice, go get it checked out, because worst case it'll just be something normal, but or if it's something serious, that's one more, and
it's just money,
right?
Who needs money? You can't take it with you anyways. You don't need it.
Exactly. Yeah, who knows? Yeah. So, but yeah. And I guess the where I want to kind of end it was so I'm without a Duo. So for those of you who don't know, I dropped it and finally killed it. So, and then unfortunately I bought it from Best Buy, and they don't have any Duo in their system at all, like at any store on the earth. So I got a credit, and so I'm Duo-less. So how do you think Microsoft, do you honestly think there's a Duo 3? Because I've heard nothing about it. I know you talked about the dual screen versus the foldable, the completely foldable. How do you see Duo 3? And do you think Microsoft is going to try to I realize they didn't realize it's a niche device, right? But do you think they're going to try to advertise? Do you think they're going to stay with the Duo 3? Or is it possible we are going to see Duo 2 and it's going to kind of just fade until Microsoft goes, we tried, but so what? I'm curious what you look at the Duo line in the next 24 months. What do you think that looks like?
I'm 99.9% there's a Duo 3. It's actively in development. As of a few months ago, there were 2 models being tested, one that was a dual screen, one that was a folding OLED. This is what I've been told anyways by someone that's been right about other things. It is coming. I don't think that there are supply chain issues getting Duo 2 restocked, but I honestly don't think that they're going to push that hard, because I don't think that they really care about Duo 2. Duo 3, they were approved when they went to make Duo. They were pre-approved for 3 revisions. So Duo 3 is their last. If it doesn't, it's the one that has to sell. Is what I should say.
Right.
If it doesn't sell, then there probably won't be a Duo 4. It needs to do something. It's the Surface Pro line was the same way. And if you look back, Surface Pro wasn't very good. Pro 2 was a little better. Pro 3 was pretty darn good, and it sold. And then we got more. So they're shooting for the same sort of trajectory here. It is, in fact, being worked on, though, and you can look at, if Duo 2's they're not really concerned about selling more of them, why are they doing all these software updates? Well, because that software will carry on to the Duo 3.
Right.
So they're going to continue doing this here and then carry it forward. So all that stuff still makes sense. I can't say too much because I didn't ask for permission.
Okay.
But there is reason in the last update to assume that not only is Duo 3 coming, but perhaps there's a second piece of hardware coming as well, or at least being worked on. There's a reference to a 3 and a 4, which doesn't necessarily mean 4. It could, if you remember, there was a Duo
right,
Go,
Duo Lite.
Duo Lite.
Yeah.
There are some things, some tantalizing tidbits that could be holdovers. It could be nothing, or it could indicate that might we be living in a world next year where there is a Duo Go, which is dual screen, and a Duo Pro that is a folding OLED. This is highly speculative. Duo 3 is definitely coming, but there are little things that make me wonder if something more isn't in the works.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
Which,
Dan, my buddy Dan's like, yeah, I hope it's a big evolution. I also too, but I also think that Microsoft's going to have to maybe try to get some word out. I don't think they can just keep kind of like letting it just organically kind of like word of mouth. And I think Microsoft's at least, if anything, some kind of,
there has to be an ad campaign.
They're going to have something, even if it's radio, print, whatever, just something at least. Because I mean, that's been my experience when I'm out in the world. People don't even know it's a thing. Yeah. Like what year are you from? 30, 21? Like what the hell is going on? Like what is this? And they think it's a fold. Right?
I think that's been intentional though. I think that they've been aware of where they are. And so with Duo 3, a lot of us know about Duo, but the general population doesn't. So if they launch Duo 3 in whatever form it's in, and they do a big ad campaign, a big ad push, for most people, they're not going to necessarily have the baggage of Duo 1 and Duo 2, where they saw, did they watch the MKBHD reviews? Did they? Right. They're going to be coming into it going, oh, what's this cool thing from Microsoft?
And now they've had 2 iterations to refine it and kind of work all that. So they're coming into it without having the bias of the fact that the first 2 suck, so this one's going to suck too.
And hopefully by the time that comes out, most of people like me are starting to come around and going, hey, actually Duo 1 and Duo 2 are pretty good now.
Right. So I think they are. At least when I got L on mine before I broke it, except for a little odd call answering bug that I kind of stumbled upon, I thought the 12L update was fantastic. I mean, I could just on my Duo 2, I could see the UI changes and just the responsiveness, and it felt solid. Like I was like, finally, I'm like, okay, now, and maybe it's because it's like, 12L, right? So now we got something. Maybe it was a little bit of that, but I think it was pretty good actually.
They've made such. Go back to Duo 1 when it first came out and compare it to where it is now. It's unbelievable how much better it is. Like it's crazy how improved it is. And Duo 2 is very improved as well. So I think that's kind of what they're hoping for, is that they're going to have the trade winds at their back to some degree. They launch a Duo 3 and they have a big ad push, and hopefully they're able to sell some and roll on from there. But we'll have to see what happens. I mean, obviously they're still trying to. As of a few months ago, they were, still deciding what the final hardware was going to be, if they were going to go with an OLED versus a dual screen device. And so I think that's been finalized at some point in the last couple of months. So we'll have to see which way they go. I would love to see them keep a dual screen phone to some degree, because I just don't know. They go with something that's basically a Z Fold without some software to really differentiate them. I don't think that's a fight that they win. They have to. Right.
I think it pushes them into that fold, and now you're really going against the big dog, and I think you just get lost in the shadow.
There's no reason that if Duo 3 is a single folding OLED screen, and it behaves like Fold does, why would you not buy the Fold? So the way I think about it is, with the Z Fold, the default behavior is to launch one app in full screen, and then you can split screen.
Right.
Well, Duo is the exact opposite. The default behavior is to launch in split screen, and then you can span it. You can full screen it.
Right.
So theoretically, they could do the same thing with a large folding screen. They would just have to take that exact software and bring it over, so that you just imagine your Duo, but without the hinge in the middle. And then imagine that if you click on an app on the left side, it opens in a split window on the left side. Right side does the right side. If they did that, it would still be a Duo. It would just flip the paradigm in terms of what the default behavior is. And I think that at that point, there still is a reason to buy it.
And Aditya is going to get one underneath radar. And also Jermaine, but my man, concept creator, throwing us a couple of euro. I think it's 6 for 6 now. We're almost on parity with $1. So thanks for that, Jermaine. We appreciate it, my friend. And Shane, from a design perspective, which you prefer, the flat notebook or the Duo One, and not the flat, but again the conundrum of the Duo owner, right? Yeah.
It comes down. So from a physical, just like what looks better, Duo One looks better for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
That being said, I prefer having a good, like a halfway decent camera setup, which you don't have on Duo. Like I've gotten some shots on my Duo 2 that are very, very good photos. And that's just not going to be the case. Like I don't want to carry, I could carry my Duo 1 and put a pixel in my pocket. And, but it's like, come on. Like I just want to carry one device. And so that people ask me all the time, should I buy Duo 1 or Duo 2? I don't know. Do you need a camera? Do you need an NFC? And that's your answer. Like if you need a camera, buy Duo 2. If you don't, buy Duo 1,
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I noticed that with the Duo 1, a lot of times I did have it unfolded and in my pocket a lot. I noticed with Duo 2, I rarely have it in that.
You get the wedge.
Plus, also, I get, and I don't know about you, but nobody ever talks about it, is on the one side, there's no support of it. So you get the little wiggle, right?
Yeah, you can bend it. You can.
Yeah, I'm like, that makes me, it's kind of like nails on a chalkboard, man. I'm just like,
nothing's going to happen. It'll be all right.
That's good. So, well, we're at 1 hour and 5 minutes. And Shane, I know you're a very busy man, and I really appreciate, like I said, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking time and spend it. You've got all sorts of other things you can be doing with your day, and then you're taking time to spend with us and talk. Obviously, Joe had a couple of cocktails at the pub, so I'm gonna let him have a vacation day. He's earned it. He's a good people, and I know he's gonna be. I can tell you tomorrow he's gonna be. I can't believe it. I was like he's gonna have engagement remorse, right? He's not gonna be here, but I really appreciate you on such short notice. I just reached out to you this week about coming on, and I really thank you for coming on and discussing Duo and your channel. And speaking of your channel, for those of you who, and if you're not following him, I know Aditya said he had to go in there, and he was following you on Twitter, but he got to go to YouTube. So I pushed you 1 sub, Shane. I'm trying, man. I'm doing my best. Fantastic. So for those of you who don't know, Shane, where can they find you? How can they engage with you? How can they see your content, which is fantastic?
Yeah, if you easiest way on YouTube, if you just search Shane Craig, I should be the first channel that pops up. I believe I am the most subscribed to Shane Craig on YouTube. Awesome. On Twitter, the handle is Scaryifliteral. Think like the term "keep your eyes peeled" would be scary if it were literal. That's what I'm talking about. Scaryifliteral. Old running joke that has just kind of stuck around. That's pretty much where I am. There's a TikTok account that I forget about for months at a time. So don't worry about that. Twitter and YouTube is pretty much where you're going to find me.
Absolutely. So great. Fantastic. So that's going to end our show. Thanks for everybody who's out. And we got another one. Yeah. Jermaine even subscribed for you. There you go. So we got 2. So we try to do our best. But again, you're always welcome to come on anytime. We'd like to follow up, especially as we get some more Duo 3 news and stuff like that. We'd love to have you on and come on and chat about that and whatever else we decide to chat about. So I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on. And we'll definitely, you're always a friend of the show. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, for everybody, we're going to go. For Sam and not Joe because he's pissed, but whatever. We're here. So have a good night. Enjoy your tech, and we'll see you next Sunday, hopefully with a fantastic guest, and hopefully Joe will be less intoxicated when he comes on the show.
Or more. That might be more fun.
Right. It will definitely not be as fun as having Shane on, but we got to have something to throw at you guys. We can't just completely suck. So we appreciate it. Thanks a lot, everyone. We'll see you next Sunday. Take care. Enjoy your tech. We love you, and we'll catch you all on the next show. Bye, everybody.